Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Basic. I'm here with my business partner, Frank Packard Reed, live from Dallas, Texas. We wanted to put a webinar together for you today that's a little bit different from what you're used to. We didn't really want it to be just over a PowerPoint slide where you just hear our voices. We wanted you to actually see who we are, that we really exist, and that we're very successful real estate investors right here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Appreciate it. And just like Brandon said, we want to make this conversational, want to make this engaging, so we actually could talk to you and to each other and let you know really what we do, how all of our different businesses work together, and how potentially we can work with you. So we're just going to take a minute here to go over the different businesses that we have. Thank you for clicking on the link for Private Lending Vault. That is where we have private lenders invest in our business real estate deals. We also have a couple other businesses, Simple House Solutions. That is one of the business that buys properties from distressed sellers or distressed properties and goes out there, really helps people out of different situations, and that's where we acquire the properties to fix up that we use the Private Lending Vault money for. We also have another business, the Avenue Team, traditional real estate agents. They also help people. Again, these businesses all work very synergistically with each other. So if somebody comes in, they need to sell their property, maybe it's not something we can buy, we have listing agents to help them out. And again, we have Wealth Builders Avenue. That's another separate business, but again, in the same theme where we help real estate investors acquire rental properties. So all these businesses really work together, and they really help all of the people, regardless of whether they're needing to sell, wanting to buy, or lend, depending on how passive they want their investment to be.
Yeah, a lot of investors are single-time investors, and there's people that do anything from buying notes to own one rental property to own high-rise buildings. So there's all different levels of real estate investors. And we wanted to share that information with you just so that you understand that we're not just here buying and flipping one or two houses. I mean, we have a portfolio of rental properties that we own ourselves. We lend money ourselves. We have apartment complexes we own mobile home parks. So this is our business. This is what we do every single day. I mean, you might be a structural engineer, a pilot, a doctor, a lawyer. You could have a very successful franchise that you own, and you're the best at that. And what we do well is real estate. So we just wanted to share that information with you so that you understand we are a full-fledged business and so forth.
Yeah, Brandon is exactly right. We do practice what we preach. We do this every single day. We do this in depth, whether it's property management side, owning rentals, we have those. We have multifamily, we have apartments. We do lend money as well, just like Brandon said. Brandon is the going a little bit forward here. Brandon does all the rehabs, works with all the general contractors as well as the contractors we have in-house. So he's right there front and center, front lines of the business every day. Yep. So just give a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. Private Lending Vault, again, that's where we work with private lenders to finance deals. That's private lending. We're going to get into a little bit more detail here just down the road. What's in it for you? That's how we can give you a potentially great return on your money lending to real estate transactions. And we're going to run through a couple case studies, let you know what we've done in the past. We have quite a few properties that we've done recently, so we're just going to go through a few of those here.
The company started actually many years ago, but at the very beginning of a business, you know, you're trying to kind of figure out what you're good at and how you want to evolve. And Dwight and I were the original founders. We started back in 2010 flipping houses, and Frank came on board as a sales agent, but his background is so extensive. He's actually brilliant at what he does. He really heads up Private Lending Vault and working with our investors all over the country. So you know, Private Lending Vault really started back in 2010. That was kind of the origins. And in a nutshell, all Private Lending Vault does, we work directly with investors, helping them achieve a greater return for their money, backed by an asset class that most people don't think of, which is real estate. So Frank went over earlier Simple House Solutions, and that's where we buy distressed properties. We also deal with distressed sellers. I mean, we buy properties that you walk in and you're like, how in the world can you find this at this price? But we don't just buy houses that are ugly. We buy from people that are in a certain situation that they just need help with. So we rehabilitate. I mean, we kind of bring these properties back to life and make them beautiful. And we have in-house contractors that we work with every day. We also sub out a lot of work. But you know, over the past 4 to 5 years doing this every day, you know, we're constantly getting better, creating more efficient systems and processes. And that's really what kind of helps stand us apart
Yeah.
from other investors.
Exactly. Brandon really hit it on the head here. The business was able to be scaled and to grow because of the systems and processes, from being disciplined buyers of properties to making sure we know exactly what we need to do when we get Brandon in there with the GCs to the property so the rehab goes smoothly, we're on time, we're on budget, everything flows very smoothly to get it out that end product that looks great and that sells quickly. So that's really in a nutshell. The business overall is structured very well, and everybody is really geared to their strengths. Brandon's strengths being on the property side, working on the property side, Dwight listing, finding those properties, making sure that the listing team's doing their job, and myself on the financing, making sure that everything's going smoothly. We're able to finance deals correctly and at attractive rates, and also to protect our investors too, which is one of the main things we do here at Simple House Solutions, private lending involved, is to make sure your money is taken care of and we be good stewards of your money.
One thing to point out is the PowerPoint slide will kind of come across the screen throughout the presentation, but you can always download it directly below. There's also some videos on our webpage as well, here at privatelendingvault.com, of some private lenders that we've worked with. You'll get to actually see them and kind of hear what they say about us. I mean, people have lent us millions and millions of dollars, so this is not our first time to borrow
No.
money. Actually, right now, as the company stands, we have over $3.5 million out in loans right now, and we've always paid our lenders back 100% whole.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah. So please check those out when you have a moment. Not to get too sidetracked, but just to bring it back to why we do this business. Why do we do this every day? Why do we wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, run around in our trucks, and go to these properties? Is really we love what we do.
In Texas, we do drive trucks.
That's true. I'm from California here. I have my little Subaru. These other guys, they have their trucks. But we really are passionate about what we do. Whether it's helping people out of a difficult situation, they're facing foreclosure, bankruptcy, they need to sell that property, or it's on the other side when we get that end product and people love it. They're buying a new house, they can't wait to move in, love the new appliances, the cabinets, the floors that Brandon put in look awesome and amazing. I mean, that's really such a feel-good moment, and that's one of the reasons why I went from being stocks, bonds, tradings in that market to really loving real estate for a tangible result that you can see, and it's really a big social impact, from revitalizing neighborhoods and areas, taking that home that's 60 years old, that's fallen apart, putting a new foundation, making sure the roof's good, getting those people who no longer want to be there, fix it up and pass it along. And I think Brandon really, he feels that to his core, is why we are in this business and we love this business.
Well, there's a lot of homes here in Dallas-Fort Worth that were built in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, and that's a lot of what we buy. And what people don't realize is that these homes need to be updated. A lot of times they haven't been updated for 40 years. So, we're at the point where when we walk in, sometimes we buy a roof that's been on there for 40 years and a hot water heater that's been there for 20. So homes need to be constantly revitalized.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's something that we love to do. I love to watch the transformation of a property to where we walk in and it's the ugliest thing you've seen, or it smells really funny, or it just needs a little bit of TLC to be brought up. Because Dallas-Fort Worth is a fantastic area, and we're going to go through this a little bit later, but people are moving to Dallas-Fort Worth, and even Texas for that matter, in herds, basically. I mean,
exactly.
people are moving here because of jobs. And people are coming from different parts of the world with different expectations. And we sell houses in Dallas in days. Certain parts take a little bit longer, but it's not surprising for us to put a property on the market on Thursday.
Exactly.
And we're signing the contract Sunday night.
Yeah.
So it's very, very typical for us.
Yeah, really, like Brandon said, the market here, the demographics here, I'm sure you all read the business publications, whether it's Forbes, Fortune, Business Week, a lot of positive articles about the economy of Texas, jobs moving here, Toyota moving up to Plano, Texas Instruments being, there's a lot of big companies, which is why you see the unemployment rate here in Texas is lower. Overall, you look at the real estate market, it held very strong through the crash. We'll get to that here in a minute, but there really is a lot of solid, strong tailwinds to the economy here in Texas. Just a quick little funny slide here. This is a cartoon, going back to how we buy these properties and why we were able to buy these properties at a discount. You see these people here that they're trying to sell the property. The roof doesn't work. The furnace is broken. Plumbing needs work. But it's at a great location. It's on Earth. And that's a lot of the properties we run in. Brandon can speak to this from a first-person perspective here, that these properties that we buy, a lot of times, we're the only buyers. It's only investors because they're so broken down, a bank will not finance these properties. That's again going over to how we are able to constantly find deals. People ask us all the time, are we ever going to run out of deals? Are we ever going to be short? The business will have to stop. And we've been in up markets, down markets. Right now we're in a hot market. That'll end for sure. No doubt about it. And that'll even be better for us. We'll be able to find more deals at a better value. We do a ton of advertising, a ton of marketing. We spend literally tens of thousands a month. We have our own in-house acquisitions team. They're out there, whether it's sending postcards, calling people, paying for leads to exclusively talk to people who need to sell. A lot of them we have to pass on, and that's again why we have the other exit strategies for potential sellers. But for the people we're able to help them out of a situation where it makes sense for us, makes sense for them, it has to be a win-win. That's something we're really big on here. It has to be a good deal for me, it has to be a good deal for you as well. And that's something I think our core of our company really feels.
What makes us successful is, we work with a lot of investors that come in from outside of DFW, and they have a notion of, I want to invest in just certain areas, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, what makes us successful and why people look to us for a resource, whether it's through our Wealth Builders Avenue or our listing team with the Avenue team, is we know where to look, we know what not to buy, and we know what price to buy it at. So,
exactly.
You've heard people say, you make money when you buy, you realize
100%.
when you sell. So what makes us successful is we know really where to look. So, one of the biggest questions that we ask is, who sells us houses? How do we find all of these deals? Well, just like in any industry, we're constantly networking with like-minded individuals and agents and other lenders and brokers. Actually got a letter in the mail last night from a lender in Mississippi that had to foreclose on a property. And he called me today and he said, I have a property for sale. I said, what are you looking for? He said, I just want out of the loan. I want $60,000. Well, I went and ran the numbers, and the final value, and we'll go over this later, the ARV is what we call it. When it's fixed up in a beautiful condition, we could sell that house for $120,000. So right there, that's at 50 cents on the dollar.
It's a great deal.
So it's a great deal. Our acquisition team literally dropped everything that they were doing. They go out there, and that's what really makes us successful. So we have realtors that call us all the time and say, I just got a phone call from somebody and something happened and they need to close and sell really quick. And they know that we have cash, and that's where you guys come in. We have deals that present to us all the time.
Exactly.
And we don't want to run out of money. So I promise you.
We've been very successful at that. And just like Brandon said, it's a unique opportunity almost every time where somebody unexpected, hey, we looked at our property 6 months ago, now we need to sell. Whether it's a pipeline deal, somebody we talked to months ago, could it be somebody got a postcard months ago. Literally deals come in from all areas of the DFW, all 4 counties around here. It's tough. We have so many different ways to get deals. We have not run out. And that's why we're able to keep the process going, keep borrowing, giving you a great, strong rate of return, keep making money enough for the business to keep going. And now we want to bring you through a little bit of actually what private lending is. This is the heart of the matter, why you're tuned in. A lot of people may have an inkling, they may know something about private lending, having heard it out there. But what is it? When you're buying a house, how do you finance that? A couple options. You could have hundreds of thousands in your bank account. You could have a traditional bank, Citi, Chase, one of the big guys finance your property. There's also private lending where institutions, smaller institutions, people to people, where you might ask mom or dad, you might go to a group of lenders, you might go just one off where they have money and they're willing to finance deals. Usually it's for a little bit higher rate, giving those people a great rate of return, and they're literally financing the purchase and the repair of the properties. And this is again what Brandon was talking about. So when we find those deals, we need people on the other side to be able to finance those. It really works symbiotically.
And it doesn't always just work with houses. When you go buy a car, just to kind of change subjects is you have 3 options. You can write a check for your car or truck. Here in Texas, it's trucks. You can go to the bank and you can work with the financing right there at the dealership. Or you can ask mom or dad, brother and sister, your neighbor. That's private lending. This is not something that Frank and I wrote down on a napkin and said,
this is not new. We did not invent the wheel.
A lot of the buildings that you see and the highways that you're driving on, a lot of it's done through private lending. These are private institutions, private individuals that are funding, for all kinds of things. So
that's
on the screen there, we always say that, banks are great.
Sometimes. Let's stop you there. Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't lend on what we do.
Right.
On the screen, you're going to see a beautiful picture of the most beautiful burnt house you've ever seen in your entire life. Now, from an investor standpoint, if we took that to the bank and said, listen, I got this for $20,000. It's going to be worth $200,000. I promise you, Frank.
Yep.
They don't care. They really don't care.
They'll send you a walk in. There's no way that would appraise. There was no way that an inspector would go out there and approve that loan. Never.
Never. But at the end of the day, they don't really work with companies like us that can make it look like the final ta-da.
There we go.
I mean, we can make these houses absolutely beautiful. And most banks, they're just not set up to work with companies like ours.
Yeah.
There are certain types of banks that do other things, but in our world, I mean, we just want to share with you, because one of the biggest questions we get is, why don't you just go to a bank? And this is the perfect reason. Now, we don't do a lot of burnt houses.
Correct.
But they do come up. But the whole point of the matter is, you know, if you send in a bank's going to send an appraiser out to that property, and if the foundation's bad, the roof's leaking, the plumbing, everything Frank just went over, they're not going to lend on the property, which is 90% of what we buy.
Exactly. There's really a niche, and that's where the opportunity exists. Everybody knows stocks, everybody knows bonds. They're out there everywhere. You know, you go to your TD Ameritrade account. That's what you can trade. This is a niche asset class, lending to real estate. So you're not owning real estate in the sense you're having to deal with tenants, with property management, general contractors. You're actually lending to the real estate. So if something goes bad, worst case scenario here, boom, you have land, you have a house, you have some solid tangible asset. It's not you have a piece of paper for WorldCom stock or Enron stock, that you actually have something to hold on to here. And that's what we're really talking about. That goes back to the heart of the matter. And we're not talking about bank rates. We're not talking about getting 1% on your money.
Correct.
The rates that we deal with, that we give our investors are much higher, in the high single digits, low double digit rates, which we'll get to a little bit later. So, Brandon, go ahead and share your book. I know you're itching to.
So, I mean, we're always, one thing about Frank Dwight and I is we're always learning, we're always reading. Now, I'm not promoting Tony Robbins and his book here, but when I was reading this, I mean, like I said, people are always asking us, so we need to stay ahead on our game as well. And when I was reading this, Money, Master the Game, you know, you're in a position to where you've been very successful. And I mean, there's something to be hugely proud of, but a lot of people don't have a relationship with their money. And that's what Tony Robbins is reading here. So on our website, you're going to see some quotes from him. But there's several instances, I think there's 4 or 5 places where Tony Robbins actually is a private lender himself. And he gives multiple examples of ways that private lending can be an excellent alternative or the different asset class for people looking to diversify their money. One of the things he says in the books is, you know, there's stocks, there's bonds, there's commodities, then there's real estate. And the word he used there is, and there's real estate. I mean, he really separates it, because real estate can be great and it can be bad. But what a lot of people, we're going to go through this in a second, in 2007 and 2008, when the market really in a
took
real
ahead
estate,
of the crisis.
It took a pretty good hurt. A lot of our friends and families that we know personally that own a lot of rental property, they became wealthier. Now, the value of their property might have dropped, but their rents went up. Their cash flow got higher. And eventually, everything turned back around.
That's a great point. And what Brandon's talking about with asset classes, a lot of people, how you look at those is, how are they correlated together? Do they go up when the economy goes up, down when the economy goes up? How are they related to interest rates? How are they related to other commodity prices? So a lot of different independent factors. And the market, stock market, bond market acts different than real estate, just exactly like Brandon said. Sometimes when you have an economic correction, downtime in the economy, people are losing jobs, rental markets go up, rental prices go up. People can't afford to buy those houses, just like he said. So you have an odd happening in the fact that we're in hard times, but yet people investing in homes getting a better return on their money through rental properties. So like I said, there is a lot to be said for diversification along with your asset classes. That's kind of going a little bit above and beyond, but we always love to.
I have a question for you, Frank. So I'm from California or in New York. You know, I've got a net worth of $2 or $3 million.
Awesome.
Why is it that I've never heard of private lending? Like, I mean, I have one of my best friends is a broker, and he gives me great. I've made really good money, but why haven't I heard of private lending?
Couple reasons. It's a great point you make. So you're in there, you have millions of dollars. What's that broker's incentive to hook you up with a private lender? They really don't have one. They're not going to get a commission. They're not going to get, you know, $5 every time you lend money. There's really not that incentive for them. Also, there's a little difference in commoditization. Commodities are, you know, oil, gold, corn, those things, commodities. Real estate is the exact opposite of that. Have houses here that are similar to the houses in New York, valuation completely different. We take the example, you look at a stock of IBM, whether I'm in New York talking to Brandon here in Texas, that stock of IBM is whatever the market price is at that day. You talk about that house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful house, might be worth $700,000 in New York, might be beautiful here and $150,000 in Texas. It's not one or wrong or right, but it's very difficult for real estate to be truly commoditized, and it's a fractioned, really kind of fractured market in terms of lending and in terms of real estate, which is why again that opportunity exists for private lending. And again, that's another reason why you haven't heard of it. Very low incentives for people to push and people to get out there and to expose people to private lending. But it's one of those things where you don't have your money locked up for long periods of time. We're anywhere from 6 months to a year. You have your high rate of return, and you're actually backed by collateral. You're backed by that property.
So I've heard of REITs. I've heard of, a friend of mine said, hey, will you go in on this apartment building with me?
Sure.
So what's the difference of that and just private lending?
Sure. I mean, REITs and pooling your money to go in on a project is a little different. So, in that case, you're with other investors, whether it's securitized, it might not be. Don't want to go too far off into the weeds about all the regulations regarding securitizing and pooling money. But here we're talking about one loan, one property. We are the borrower, you're the lender, something goes wrong, you get the property back. Again, we've never had that happen, but God forbid that would be exactly how that works.
And private lending's not illegal, right?
No, sir, it is not illegal. SEC, it's just fine. This happens all the time, millions of transactions every day. Like I said, click on the links for testimonials. You'll see our current lenders have lent us millions of dollars. This is something that an attorney will write up the documents for us. Money goes to the title company. It's very standardized. There's nothing weird. You're not sending it to my account. You're not sending it to Brandon's account. It's going through a formalized closing process. Just to jump back here, going to stock market versus private lending, Brandon brought up some good points here about how the stock market acted over that downturn, 2007, 2008. A lot of us know about this very personally. I can tell very personal tale about being in the markets, working for a large investment fund myself. Extremely painful. A lot of money was lost, jobs were lost, really took a beating in the market. And if you look at the same overall environment, but through the lens of real estate, and especially in Texas, it was a much different feel. Sure, a lot of people did lose money in Nevada and Florida, but if you look at the rental properties here in Texas, the rents held strong, the values of the property held strong. And as a retiree, if you're getting close to retirement age, you might not have a long time to recoup those losses. So as the market turns over and you're counting on that nest egg for retirement, if all of a sudden you're down 20, 30, 40%, it takes even longer. It takes more than 20% to recoup a 20% loss. Now you're having to wait for the market to rebuild your assets. You're hoping that you're going to rebuild your assets. Now we're not saying that private lending or anything is perfectly stable, just looking over time and how the markets have moved and how overall you would have fared going through different market transactions and transitions in the economy.
So let's break it down. Just really the difference between private lending and the stock market. Now,
Sure.
Granted, Frank knows the stock market forwards and backwards, and he can have a conversation with you about that. I mean, that's definitely
That's another time, another place.
That's another time. Feel free to give Frank a call, and you guys can talk about it. But with private lending, the rates are fixed. I mean, when
Correct.
we call you and say, hey, we have a property, I mean, it's going to be in a deed of trust. It's going to say your name or your company and the exact interest rate that's going to be paid for you, and everything's going to be done at a title company.
Correct.
So in the properties that you're lending on, these are collateralized at below market value.
Exactly.
And we'll go through an example here in a minute, but if a property's in the value, that's what we would sell it for, is $100,000, we would never borrow more than 75% of that, which in that case would be $75,000. And that has to cover the purchase and the rehab. So it's below market value.
Exactly.
Also, you have insurance on the property. We're going to go through this in a minute, but God forbid something happen, a tornado or a fire, you're paid back.
Yep.
If you have money in the stock market,
No insurance,
There's
unless
no-
you're
there's
buying
no
options every day. Yeah, you
Exactly.
really have no insurance. The market goes down, it tanks. That piece of paper is just a piece of paper. It's equity. It is not debt. You do not own any of the building, the plant, equipment,
No
nothing.
assets.
No assets
Correct.
at all.
and this is secured by a deed of trust. Again, it is a document that's recorded here in Dallas County or Tarrant
Exactly.
County or Denton or Collin, et cetera, and you're protected. With the stock market, you're not protected at all. You could lose anything at any moment. So, a lot of people like to say, you guys, you're only going to talk about the happy times.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the worst case scenario, because when I learned in real estate, my first class I went to a long, long time ago, the gentleman up on stage, he was from Florida, and he said a lot of people always want to pump you up and say how great things are, but sometimes things do take a turn for the worse.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about the absolute worst case scenario, because the way he said let's talk about the worst kind of thing, and if you can deal with that, if you're okay with that,
Yeah.
then just move forward. I mean, we don't want you to just be stuck in a case of fear. Let's talk about some things that can happen. So let's start with the stock market. If you have $100,000 in the stock market, something happens.
Yeah, market gets cut in half, what do? If you have 30, 40 years till retirement, okay, you might be able to weather the storm, stick with it. Obviously, it's an emotional drain to take that huge loss. That's happened to a lot of people. I know my folks went through that, and very painful for them. But yeah, you're waiting. You have to get more than a 50% gain to counteract that 50% loss. Again, no insurance. Some of these stocks you might have dividends on, but they're not going to be making the kind of returns.
Doing dividends.
Exactly. Private lending here, again, I like talking about that worst case scenario, because a lot of people, like you said, they like to talk roses, happy times. Let's get down to brass tacks and what the worst case happens. It's like Brandon said, if we have that house worth $100,000 after repair condition, basically pristine, fixed up condition, we're potentially borrowing $50,000 for the purchase, another $25,000 for the rehab. That gets us to $75,000 all in. Whereas you have that $25,000 of equity, of built-in cushion, like Warren Buffett always says. He wants to make sure he has a cushion for any kind of investment to get in, a really region margin of safety. Yeah. And that is our margin of safety to ourselves and to our lenders. So if something happens, you'd have to take back that property. There is that margin and still be a good deal, even if you're taking back the property. We talked to lenders the other day who had to take back 90 properties over the downturn. They're still holding on to them. They've made great rentals. They've actually made money on those properties.
They asked us to buy them from them and to make a good profit.
To make a good profit, and then they're up and they're doing well. So that's one of the good positive things about private lending is you do have that asset at the end of the day if everything really to go to heck in a handbasket.
I do know Warren Buffett does say there's only one rule of investing: don't ever lose money. Rule
2, see rule 1.
And see rule 1, exactly. And at the end of the day, I want to have control of my own money. I want to have some type of a relationship with it, and I want to know that my money's right here. And unfortunately, I can't call up the owner of Apple and the owner of these large companies and say, listen, how's my money doing? You can call Frank at any time.
Sure.
He does not sleep that much, I can promise you. So, we just wanted just to give you that sense of security so you completely understand what we do every day and what private lending is, and that it's not something, it's not illegal to do. It happens every day all around us, but you just might not have had the opportunity. And we want this to be an educational source so that maybe it's something depending on if you have a few extra $100,000. We talk to a lot of people that have millions of dollars, but you don't have to have millions of dollars to work with us.
Correct.
The average size of our loan is $125,000. Okay, so we have people out of California that contact Frank and they're saying, in California,
what are you buying for $100,000? What is this shack?
In California, and we can lend 8 or 9 here in Texas. So that's incredible diversity, and that's what makes private lending exciting.
Yeah, it really is. Really, just what Brandon said. To be able to lend those pieces of money for, again, it's just short duration. We're looking for usually under a year. I think our largest project was, eight months?
Correct.
And that's because the buyer had trouble qualifying for the loan. Usually we're done with these projects within 6 months. Again, we're never going to guarantee anything, but we like to be upfront. We like to be transparent to see exactly what has happened in the past. Also, like we were talking about with the rehab, we'll send you pictures of what's gone on. That's what we do with our current lenders. Here, we just got the demolition done. We've framed it out. We've started putting up some sheetrock. Here are the pictures. Check it out. You saw the ugly ones before. Here are the ones updated. As we go forward, you'll get pictures. You'll know where exactly the property is in terms of the rehab. So again, we're very transparent. We want to keep all our investors in the loop. Make sure you know what we're doing. We say what we're going to do, and we always will tell you and keep you updated at any point in time.
Well, another rule in real estate investing is always have an exit strategy, and that's what makes us successful. There have been times where we were going to flip a property and the market wasn't that great.
Correct.
And we found a renter in 2 days at a price way above value.
Sure.
And so when times like that, we immediately put a renter in, which is really good for our investors, because now it's an asset to us because we're actually cash flowing on it, and we can, we're still able to make all the loans.
Just like you said, so now that rent actually makes your payments and more, and we just refinance that money.
Absolutely.
You get paid back. we move on, next deal, and we keep moving forward from there.
Absolutely.
Going forward to who buys these properties. So when we talk about flipping the properties, who's on the other side of that transaction? These are owner-occupied buyers looking for a beautiful house for themselves, for their families, for their kids. We just sold that one in Plano. They had 3 children. Everybody gets a bedroom now. They had more space than they did before. They love the fact there's new cabinets, new appliances. These could be first-time buyers. We had a young man, 26-year-old Army guy, who qualified for a VA loan.
Afghanistan too.
Yeah, he just got back from Afghanistan, which is really good feel-good. And this guy was
it
able to qualify for a VA loan. He got in the property $700 for a $150,000 house. I mean, it's awesome for him to be able to get in that property, and heck, he deserves it. I mean, having to go overseas and serve in the military.
So, I mean, we have programs for first-time home buyers.
Correct.
And we have, again, networks of people. I mean, when you're looking to buy a house, it's not always, I mean, some people call up one mortgage broker and they're like, oh, I'm not approved, but they don't realize that every mortgage broker has different criteria. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, if you're watching this and you're looking to buy or sell a house, I mean, call us here at the Avenue team. I mean, we can help you with that. I mean, we're very well versed here in Dallas-Fort Worth, know so many mortgage brokers, and our job is to make all of our clients, whether you're one of our investors or you're buying a house from us or selling a house from us, we want to make it a pleasant experience.
Perfect point. Just to tack on one thing, the Dallas County actually has a program to help some first-time buyers, low income, certain requirements that we didn't know, and our agent just explained that to a potential buyer. So now not being able to qualify turns into, hey, we get assistance from the city to help us buy this beautiful house. So there are a lot of, I know that doesn't really tie into a lot of people, but there are a lot of things that help these buyers qualify for properties, and it's a really good feel good.
Our investors love it because they get their
money back,
faster,
and exactly.
And we can do it all over again.
And it's a feel good for everybody all the way around, which overall are for our company goals. What do we want to take away? What do we want to give back? I mean, that's really why we're in this, and it goes to our why we do this. I mean, we love the business. We love finding deals. Brandon loves transforming them, taking the ugly, making it beautiful, taking that burnt house, new carpet, new flooring, everything. But really what we're trying to do overall is give the community, give homeowners a beautiful product at the end of the day. We love the fact that we're able to employ people, whether it's real estate agents, whether it's general contractors and their workers. I mean, that's really a great feeling for us to revitalize properties that need that, to revitalize communities, and really to give back.
Well, we spent $300,000 last year in materials alone
to
rehab houses. And I mean, talk about a socioeconomic impact.
Definitely.
I mean, just in our company alone, spending more than $250,000 is very impressive. But I think our foremost, I mean, we couldn't do this business without our lenders. I mean, our lenders are our family. One of our lenders was actually in Dwight's wedding. We go on vacation with these people. I mean, they literally, you become very, very close like family because you are our most important asset. I mean, I can't buy that house and transform the home, the lives, and the community without you. So we have every interest to take care of you.
Exactly.
And I mean, I lend my own money to the company. Okay, we have money in every deal that we do. So that's a big question that we get a lot of times: is do you put money in the deal? Absolutely. So I just want to make that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it is a symbiotic relationship between us and our lenders. We like to think it's a win for them. They're getting a great return. They're secured. We keep a very transparent process. We're able to continue to do the business, employ people, stimulate the economy. Also, when we flip those houses, the tax value goes up. That helps the municipalities around here generate more revenue. So it is really a win from all economic standpoints here. And looking at the overall business and how are we different? I mean, there's a lot of house flippers. We've all seen those shows on A&E, and you see, they flip this house. They're all great. Those guys. They're great guys. There's different models. Some people do this as a business. Some people do 1-2 a year, mom and pop. They love doing it themselves. They get down on their hands and knees. Brandon does not get down on his hands and knees.
I have a truck, but that's about it.
So we made this a real business, and as you can see, there's all 3 corners of the business that we really have taken ownership of. Myself in the financing aspect, working with lenders, working with financing, title companies, etc., making sure everything goes smoothly. Brandon on the project management side. Then we have Dwight listing, acquisitions, making sure that the properties are purchased correctly, making sure that we're getting a good deal, making sure that we put the property on the market, that it's in sale-ready condition, that it looks beautiful, looks nice, it's ready for somebody to step in there and buy it.
We also, I mean, we do have 10, as of right now, we have 10 full-time employees. So like I said, we do have a team of people supporting us. I mean, it's a lot of marketing efforts
It sure
that we do. We have people going down to courthouses, et cetera. I also help manage.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Our seven-figure
That's right.
real estate portfolio. So we do exactly what we preach. And, it's seven-figure right now. The goal is to make it eight-figure because the reason sometimes people fall in and out of real estate is they make good money flipping houses, but they don't protect that money.
Correct.
They don't take that 20, 30, 40, $80,000 profit, okay, and then buy one or two rentals that are going to basically produce cash flow. And that's what makes us successful is we run this like a business and we do exactly what we preach.
Yeah, so we're not buying the $80,000 M3 and racing it after we have a couple successful flips. We're plowing it back into money, into rental properties, and to buying those buy and holds that'll make money over the long term. So
So what makes us successful? I mean, let's talk about that because at the end of the day, you have to trust that we know what we're doing and we're going to build a relationship with you and get to know you very, very well. Along the way, you can ask us any question, and the books are wide open for us because we do want you to feel always comfortable. But we create value. I mean, so when you buy a house that's distressed and you rehab it, basically you're forcing appreciation. So we create value through we think outside the box. A lot of times we buy a house that's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage. Well, most people don't realize that we can make it a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage.
Exactly.
It is difficult to do. You have to jump
have a
through
little
certain
vision.
hoops.
Yeah.
But you have to have a vision. You have to know how to do it. You have to have the right team. You have to work with the cities. You have to pull the right permit. You have to do everything right. And we've done all of these things. But our focus is always about creating value and creating solutions for people. So when we spend $1 in marketing, we get a phone call. That person comes to us and they say, hey, I'm in need. Our job is to hear what they say, translate it to what it means, and create a solution for those people. That's what makes us successful. And whatever that solution might be, it might be buying their house, using your money to buy it and transforming it, or it's putting that property on the market. We really run this as a full-time business. So having said that, our phones are off right now. This is very rare. But if a deal came through right now, we might have to end this session because
Brandon's 100% right. You pick it up and run.
Speed is quick. When a deal comes in, you drop everything that you're doing.
Exactly. If a distressed homeowner comes through, hey, I'm going to go through foreclosure next week. I got to sell my house now. I can't wait. Literally, we jump in the truck, we go out there. Hey, what do you need for it? What do you need to pay off your loan? Do you have any second liens? Do you have a tax lien? Okay, great. Let's make sure that's wiped out. I mean, that's part of my job is to make sure homeowners, these sellers that come in that are distressed, they walk away free and clear.
Absolutely.
We want to give them a win, to have them be really discharged of all their debts, anything that would be needing to be paid. We make sure it's paid, we take care of it, and then we move on and start rehabbing it.
Correct. And this is a team approach. I mean, as soon as a deal comes in, our marketing and acquisition team is going to look at the house. They're consulting me. Frank's working with the title company, working with you, our lenders. But the reason we bring it up is if you're really serious about being a private lender, sometimes you get a phone call from Frank. This is not every time. The majority of times it's 14 days to 21 days. But it could be as quick as 3 to 4 days. So when you're really interested, if you're 100% on board, you might get a phone call and you might need to move really, really quickly.
Yeah,
so we need to make sure that you're 100% on board.
Yep, there's a deal. I mean, we'll present it to you. We'll give you the pictures, what's going on. Here's where we plan to deal with it. Here's our exit strategy. Here's the basic scope of work of what will be done to the property. So you'll know what you're getting into. You'll know which way we're going with this deal. And again, if it's transparent, if something changes, if all of a sudden, hey, this is going to be a great rental property, we're going to keep it and refinance it, we'll let you know. And that's not necessarily a bad deal. You'll get repaid just as you would if we were to flip the property. So it really being transparent and clear with our lenders is one of our hugest goals.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So what's in this? This is the core here. This is what people want to know. Private lending. Why should I explore this? Why should I consider it? Why should I lend to you guys? So again, this is the lending on an asset is you're secured by a physical asset. It's this piece of property. It's this home. So if something were to happen again, you have a piece of property securing your investment. And again, we're looking at rates 8 to 10% for short term, for 6 to 12 months. You look at that compared to what you can get a CD. What is it, about 1% now?
I think it's less than that.
What are you making in your savings account?
0.000, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. so not even a percent. You look at the treasuries are about 2% plus or minus. Again, those are 2, 5-year, 10-year. we're looking at rates around 10% for a year or less.
Correct.
And that's to purchase the property, to rehab it, and then to exit the property on the other side, whether that's refinancing, whether that's selling it. And again, we're dealing with everything. Brandon's working with the contractors, he's working with our laborers, making sure the property's fixed up. If something breaks, if all of a sudden, oh no, we have pipes we got to replace, we deal with it. We don't call you, we don't ask you for more money, we don't touch the phone to call you. The only thing we're letting you know, here's how it's going. We're in this stage, we're in the next stage, it's, maybe it's taking us a little longer. Maybe it's already on the market. That's the only thing we're communicating to you. You don't have to worry about property management, no tenants, no toilets. I know that's all the T's of property management that everybody hates. You deal with the property manager all the time. You get the calls about, oh, my AC is not cold enough. None of that. This is a very, very passive investment, so that when you're lending on the property, you don't have to deal with any of the normal real estate headaches that people are tired of.
And you might be a real estate investor yourself and have a very strong
Sure.
experience in understanding exactly what we're talking about. But what's awesome about real estate is you can lend money,
Exactly.
you can flip houses, you can have rentals, you can do all of it. So
Correct.
don't consider yourself out just because you know one piece. You might
Yeah.
be very successful at something. Say, I've never heard of private lending, but I own rental property. Well, maybe it's a different type of asset class that you could think
Yeah.
about. It's
It's the
very, very
same side.
passive. I mean,
Yep.
if you have money and you want to constantly keep it working for you, it's a great strategy. When
We
I
have-
when I was 18 years old, I was reading one of Robert Kiyosaki's books, and it was very strange for me when his mindset, I mean, a lot of this is just a mindset, it's a way you think. He said, I never want to have money in my savings account. And someone asked him one time, Robert, what do you keep in your wallet? And he said, I keep, I think it was $1 million bill from Zimbabwe,
Yep.
and it constantly reminds him of how fast the dollar can devalue
From inflation.
from inflation.
Yeah.
And he says that's why as soon as he's exiting money, he's always looking for somewhere else to put it. So
Correct.
we just want private lending to be a potential alternative. We would love for you to talk with us.
That's a great point. We have lenders that sell their rental properties. Their properties have appreciated value, whatever. They're tired of the headache. Hey, I can get almost the same, maybe sometimes even better rate of return lending. I don't have to worry about property management. I don't have to worry about people late rent, trying to evict people. I mean, things that are a huge headache. That's where we get a lot of our lenders. They're tired of owning rental properties. They're tired of that part of the game. This is just the same side of the same coin. So really, we're not talking about anything that's reinventing the wheel, anything that's crazy or off the wall. This isn't financial engineering. These aren't some weird derivatives. This is a tried and true strategy that people have used over time. Which, let's go look at a quick example here. This is 110 Firewood in Louisville. This is a recent deal that we did in a very good market. Now, when we walked into this house, I remember the three of us were out here for quite a few hours. Why is there a hole in the wall? It was a very interesting sensation that this wasn't a window that was open. There was actually a hole in the wall. There was trash all over the living room. Some of the siding was falling off. There was all kinds of weird things that were going on. You remember this property, Brandon?
I remember it well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Frank and Dwight like to walk in and say, "Oh, this is crappy. Good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks. See you in 6 months."
To turn it over to you.
And so I'm there constantly in this property, and we basically brought our structural engineer out there, and we learned that we could take down every wall in the center of the house. This was a 3-1. We made it into a 3-2. And based on the value, we saw that converting the one-car garage back would have basically increased our value just a little bit, but by keeping that square footage, we actually got
more per square foot.
you get more per square foot, so it kind of equaled out.
Yeah.
And we sold this house in 2 days. So as you can see here, it was purchased on 5/9. We sold it on 11/20. What was interesting about this one is the people were actually moving out of their apartment, and they said, "I want to do a seller lease back." So before they even bought the property, they moved in.
Correct.
Because they had already been pre-qual. They were just going through the loan process, and they basically paid us rent way above market rent while we were going through the loan process. So that happens a lot. But as you can see here, we bought this for $62,000. We put about $35,000 into it. We sold it for $134,000. So this is our bread and butter. We call this a single. I mean, this is something that we do very, very easily. You can see the before and after. The very bottom pictures you can see there, that was the master. It was just a vanity and a toilet. And we did some reconfiguration, and we actually the bathtub was originally part of the hall bath we made into the master, so it gets complicated. But
Yeah.
as you can see, we know what we're doing.
Brandon does this in his sleep now.
I do.
He knows how much that laminate floor costs. He knows how much tile is going to be. He knows how much the granite's going to go. You know, where are you going to get the cabinets now? I got a great source for those. And these deals, like you said, the bread and butter deals, buy it for 60, put 30 into it, sell it for 130. I mean, we do this all day.
Mm-hmm.
You probably only had to go to the property, you know, 4 or 5 times to check, make sure they're following the scope of work that you put
Correct.
together. And
Correct.
it's a very passive. Even for us, I mean, we've done this so much of the time that the people that work for us know exactly what to do. We know exactly what materials to use, and it looked really beautiful. So great job doing that. People loved it. The reason why it did take a little longer is because they had the underwriting process now for buyers is a little more rigorous. They had to make sure they had their DTI in the right place.
Correct.
They stayed in the property, which was great. So it was paying our private lenders money basically while they
And the
lived there,
utilities
and the utilities,
yeah.
and if somebody was occupying the property, we didn't have to
Correct.
worry about vandalism. So it was really a win-win all the way around. So that's how it works in a nutshell. That's how process is very seamless. We borrow the money, we acquire the property. We go ahead and we fix up the property with the holdback funds that we had borrowed, and then at some point in time, we either refinance it or we sell it in the open market. It's really as simple as that.
It really is. And, you know, one of the things that we get asked, kind of brought this to my mind was, you know, we actually put the property in our name personally.
Correct.
And then we borrow it from you. So on the insurance, you're going to be a mortgagee. So it's going to have your name or your company's name, your address, everything. So we recently had to we had a hailstorm, we had to redo the roof. The insurance company sent our lender the actual insurance check, and I got a call from him one day. He says, "Hey, I have a check here for $6,000. What's this for?" You know, I was like, "Well, that's for the roof I need to put
Yeah.
on." So, I mean, it's
That's another level of protection for
Absolutely.
lenders here. So if something happens, hailstorm, tornado, fire, wipes out the property,
Whatever it
the
is.
property is insured.
Absolutely.
You are the lost payee. Something happens, we don't take the money and run. You get the money, and then we decide, you know, what to do with the land. I mean, we knock on wood, we've never had that happen
Correct.
before. The worst has been, like you said, a hailstorm, which happens
Correct.
pretty frequently out here in Dallas. But you are the lost payee if something were to happen on the insurance document. Just another way that we secure our lenders, make sure that you're taken care of, make sure that your interests are represented in every single deal.
And all these documents are put together by attorneys. This is
Yeah.
not something that we do. This is all done at a title company. At a formal closing, you will be contacted by the title company, probably
Correct.
the attorney for the title company, and they'll go through everything with you. So then they're going to basically give you a wiring instructions, routing.
Correct.
If you live here in Dallas, you can always come by the title company.
Yep.
But it's a very, very easy process.
Yeah, exactly what Brandon said. Yeah, this is a formal deal. If you've bought a home, investment property, your home, this will look exactly the same way, except
Correct.
instead of sending something out to Chase or to Citi, you're going to be the lender. We're going to have the deed, and you're going to have the first lien on the property. It's going to go the same way that any normal real estate transaction were to go. It would just be written up by the attorney at that title company, and again, we would owe you the money. The interest rate would likely be higher than what banks charge.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we're offering 10% now for our lenders for these fix and flip deals. Again, usually take less than 12 months. This is a great slide here, really to hit home about, as an asset class, why is this different than stocks and bonds? What does my risk look like? What's happened over time? And as we know, real estate took a beating 2008, 2009. I mean, areas like Nevada, Florida, they had a lot of building. The economies weren't very strong. People were paying way too much for properties. Here's what happened in Texas. This is from the Texas A&M Real Estate School. I love the data. I love pouring through. They got a lot of cool stats here.
Stock guy.
It's really, yeah, I love being that nerdy guy looking through the data. But as you can see here, so the blue line is Fort Worth. The green's Dallas. You can see, you know, in the middle somewhere is Texas overall. But look there, kind of focus in if you can. 2007, 2006, the market's going up. Peaks right about 2007, and then just levels off. Looks like Fort Worth took a little more of a hit than Dallas. It did correct here. We did have a little bit of a loss, but now it's even back above those levels. And I'm not going to make any predictions about the market moving forward. I'm definitely not one to do that. But the market has continued to be strong. The underlying economy of Dallas is strong. Jobs move here. There is net migration to Texas, whether
Correct.
it's jobs and employers as well. We love being here for that exact reason too.
here's a good pictorial diagram of just, I mean, some people want to see how does the flow of money. I mean, we're all about cash flow and how does cash move. So
Correct.
We do the marketing to find that beautiful property that you see there.
Boarded up windows and everything.
Correct. We put the contract on it. So again, this is all us so far. That's Frank. Frank's gonna call you, and he's gonna work directly with you and kind of go over all the numbers,
Correct.
the whole plan that we have for the property. You're gonna basically approve everything. We're gonna have a formal closing at title, and then as you can see there, it's gonna go through the renovation process. Our normal rehab is about 28,000. That's our average. That
Correct.
takes. Our average is about 32 days. Okay, so we do have some that take 90, some that take 20, but our average is about 30-something days.
Brandon's great at keeping the rehab team on price, on budget, on time. Really, really good at focusing on that.
And then as you can see here, the next step is it's going to be a beautiful property. It's going to be up for sale or for rent. And then at title, the title company's going to call you again for the second time. The first time they call you is for you to send the money. The next time is they say where to send it back to you from.
Exactly.
So, and then you have it all over again. So it's a very easy passive process. If you want to be very passive, that's fine. If you want to call Frank quite a bit, or even call me, or if you're here in Dallas and you want to come by and walk the property, just call us and we'll set up an appointment and you can go by there with us and see the progress.
Yeah, great point. I just with one of our private lenders this morning, we were touring a property and letting them know here's what we do in the kitchen, here's what we do in the master, giving them all of our thoughts, what of our materials we would use. More hands-on. He's a newer lender that we're starting to work with. He was very glad to see that we had everything prepared, that we were very knowledgeable. So the documents that you're going to get at closing here, promissory note. Again, these are documents drawn up by an attorney, not by us. These aren't something that we're qualified to
Correct.
do. A proper real estate attorney does all these. Promissory note, that basically means we promise to pay you back. The mortgagee, so again, that's another document drawn up by a real estate attorney. You own the mortgage, we own the house, and we're going to pay you back once we close on that property. On the other side, we sell it to a owner-occupied, we sell it to a renter, etc. And then the insurance policy, which we talked about. If something happens, fire, hail, tornado, you're going to be receiving the money, receiving the funds from the insurance payout should some catastrophe hit the house.
So our promise, I think this is one of the coolest things that we can actually offer you, is that our company does not make a dime until you're paid off. So we spend a lot of money to market for the property, a lot of money buying the property, a lot of money rehabbing the property, and we don't make a dime sometime for 6 months after we lock up that property, because you are, besides the property, are our most important asset. We make money when you're paid off 100% in full.
Exactly.
And there's not a lot of other investments that can say that.
No.
So I think that's
I think it's very, very powerful.
Really cool.
I think it's very powerful. And if you own a stock, can you call the CEO? Can you call the CFO? Hey, what's going on? Where's my money? Hey, when do you think I'm going to get that back? Hey, when am I going to get that interest payment?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're accessible. We're here. You can touch us. You can see us. You can come visit the property. You can see exactly what's going on. You can talk to Brandon. What's going on with rehab.
Yep.
I think after a couple of deals, people get very passive. They learn to trust us. Okay, gosh, you guys are doing this. That's fine. Just let me know when you sell it. If it takes a little longer, hey, that's great. I get more interest on my money. Have to recycle less.
Charles called me the other day. He said, why are you paying me off so soon?
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes we flip these houses very quickly. It depends on the market. But, our lenders like to have their money out for a long period of time.
Correct.
And, sometimes we do a great job, and it sells even faster.
Yeah, people are like, gosh, I wanted more than 2.5 months worth of interest. I wanted, 5 or 6 months. Gosh, can you guys,
Let's just do it again.
Yeah, I said, okay, well, we'll just go ahead and recycle the project. We'll have another one coming up soon. For people looking to lend, but they might not have the $100,000, $200,000 in the bank in the savings account, like Brandon talked about, a lot of people don't leave money in the savings account because it doesn't earn diddly. So where can you access funds? A lot of people have access to IRA, SEP IRA, 401k. There's checkbook IRAs you can set up where you can actually convert that into a self-directed fund where you can write a check. The actual IRA would be the lien holder, and the whole benefit would be for the IRA. Brandon, you've set this up yourself. You actually lend out of your IRA. Pretty easy process?
It's a very easy process, and your IRA company they are your trustee, and they do everything for you.
Yep.
They're actually your beneficiary, so they actually look after you to make sure that you're 100% protected.
Yep.
We actually have a lot of business owners as well that can do business lines of credit. they're very successful. They can draw money for like at 2 or 3%, and
Yeah.
they lend it to us at 10.
There you
so
go.
that's a very, very positive, very
Passive,
strong,
yeah.
passive, strong
Same
rate of
thing with,
return.
with home equity line of credit. You know, with rates as low as they are now in the 3s and 4s, a lot of people, hey, I have a home equity line of credit I'm not going to do anything with. You know, the home's 80, 90% paid off. Heck, take 200,000. Like you said, borrow at 3, lend it 10%. That's a nice strong spread. I mean, these are exactly what banks do. These are why bankers are rich. These are why banks have become, you know, the largest earners in the S&P, is because they're able to harness the power of financial compounding. Here's another example of a deal. This is some time ago. Brandon, do you want to take them just with kind of the nuts and bolts of how this deal went? A little bit lower dollar price. Again, this is still a solid single deal, like we would say.
Absolutely. This was actually from one of our contacts. It was actually another investor that could not qualify to purchase this property. So she called us and said, hey, I have this deal. I can't buy it. Can I sell it to you? And we said, absolutely.
Yeah, why
the
not?
numbers worked well for us. We bought it for $43,000. It's in Fort Worth. We put about almost $30,000 into the property and sold it for $110,000. So as you can see, there's a very strong spread there. We bought it in April and sold it 8/14/2013. So we wanted to kind of go back, just not show you everything in 2014, but we did a lot of deals in 2013. We've already done a lot of deals
Correct.
here in 2015 as well. So as you can see, just a quick before and after picture. I mean, everything is a system and a process with us. We use a lot of the same paint
Yep.
colors, a lot of the same floor, depending on, and of course, price range and so forth. But
That's a great point that Brandon made, because we were so focused on the process and the systemization of the whole business. Like you said, you'll see that same tile, that same backsplash. Hey, that looks familiar. That appliance looks familiar. It's because it looked great and because it worked and buyers loved it. That's the reason why we're using these same things over again. If something doesn't work, boom, it's out.
we're going to change it.
You know, you see here, this is just to go over another property here, Landishire in Plano. This one sold in 2 days. It's an extremely hot market. Obviously, this market's not always going to be so hot, but the floors look great. The appliances were awesome. New cabinets. The bathroom in here was just to die for. The woman of the house, she absolutely loved it. Having the basically, it's like a spa. It's almost like a Four Seasons, multiple shower heads. You had the tub in there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You went overboard in this one.
Well,
it's beautiful.
This is what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
we know how to sell a property, and we know
Yeah.
what people want. We know what buyers want, and the way we know that is whenever we're running a value, trying to figure out what the process or what the property is going to sell for. We see what the comparable sales are. So it's not
Exactly.
just Frank, Brandon, Dwight, and our interior designer saying, "Hey, let's do this." We look and see what's the best looking property that we're competing against,
Exactly.
and let's beat it. Let's go even nicer, so that when someone walks in our property, they're going to love it.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's our strategy. I mean, people ask, what's your secret? That's our secret right there.
But again, just going off what you said, but not going above. I mean, so we're
Correct.
not going to put, a Sub-Zero and a Viking in a $300,000 property. I mean, yeah, people would love them, but we know how not to over rehab it.
Correct.
So we went with, laminate, a very nice laminate floor, not a hand scraped wood floor. The market didn't need that.
Correct. I mean, we still spent $75,000 because we complete gutted the entire house.
Correct.
And some people say, there's no way you spend 75. That looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
150.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we do a lot of volume. We work with the contractor we work with. He was doing 3 rehabs for us at the exact same time. We do buy stuff in bulk. We know exactly where to buy stuff. We buy all of our stuff at wholesale prices because
Correct.
we do a lot of volume. So again, this is what we do every single day.
Kind
I
of-
like this
You wanna show-
example
okay,
though
show
because
Granbury.
this is one that we did in Granbury. Now Granbury's a little further south. There's about an hour and a half away from here. And there's pros and cons. We got a really good deal on the house and we decided to do the property. As you can see, we held this property a little bit longer. Well, what's positive, we still made money. It was still a good
Yeah.
deal for us. As you can see, our lenders made almost $8,600 on this deal.
Less than a year.
And did nothing.
Yep.
And I'm jealous.
Yeah, no, they lend out. This one was just over 125,000 total loan value, and in a little over 6 months, taking home that $8,600. I mean, in a passive return where you're not worried about renters, you're not worried about property managers. You don't have to fix the toilet. You don't have to drop in a new water heater for $1,000. You don't have to fix the AC for $1,500.
And I went to this property for a
more
high
times than
number of
Brandon wants
times.
to talk about here. But yeah, it's looked great. It sold quickly. This is the one we talked about when the young man from the Army who was qualifying with
that's
the
right.
VA loan.
This was his
This is
property.
his property, and I really love to see it because it's a beautiful property. It was recently built and like less than 10 years old, and a really great property for him to start a family in. We're lending for the purchase as well as the rehab of the property. The recent one we bought for $100,000, we dropped in almost $30,000. That's how the typical fix and flip model works. Whether we're going to fix it up and rent it or fix it up and sell it on the open market, that's how that money would work. And that's a little bit more, let's say, risky, if you want to talk about in the real estate investment world, versus intermediate to longer term money, whereas the property's already been fixed, there's a renter in place, there's just a passive income coming in from the rental property. That's more intermediate, and again, the rates will go down on these kinds of funding, and we're looking for 12 to 36 month funding on these types of properties. Again, this is really passive. We already have property management taking care of the property. It's just for us to hold it for a little bit longer and not have to deal with banks in the interim.
Yeah, so I mean, part of the reason for this is you're diversifying your money again within it's the same asset class, but it's a different type of a product. So one of our companies is called Wealth Builders Avenue. And we educate people about money and how real estate, especially rental property, can exponentially increase their net worth.
Definitely.
Because there's multiple things when you have cash on cash, you have appreciation, you have a multitude of different things.
All kinds of stuff.
And cap rate just to kind of help you build wealth. Well, we sell a lot of these properties to end investors that want to hold these, and we do everything for them. But a lot of times we put a tenant in place with the money that you lend us, okay? So we put a tenant in place, it's beautifully done. We would then use this money to hold that property with the tenant in place anywhere from 12 to 36 months. Now, why that duration? If you want us to keep it for 30 years, we can have that conversation, but we would never ask you to do that. Because banks these days, they want a little seasoning, meaning they want the property to be rented and that you've owned it for longer than 12 months. And then around 18 to 24 months, banks they'll cash you out very, very easily. So that's what that money's for. So if you're looking for a different
return,
different return,
lower rate, but almost you could say,
security bucket.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much in your security bucket. Exactly what Brandon was saying. That these are properties that have been fixed up. You don't have to worry about the rehab. You don't have to worry. Everything is done. Like you can have an appraiser come out there and put a value on that property as is, right in the current condition. It's beautiful. It's rented. You have that cash flow to count on for the payments. And just like he was saying, a lot of people don't want to be locked up for more than a couple of years, and we totally understand. Everybody knows rates are at a rock bottom right now. Nobody wants us to lend out their money for 10, 20, 30 years when rates are going to rise, and potentially they could have got a better deal going on. So this really comes from a lot of conversations we've had with lenders to say, yeah, sure, I'd love to get a solid 5 to 8% for 2 or 3 years. No, I don't want to be locked up for 5 or 10, but for 2 or 3, I'd love it. Great, you have a renter in place. Super. So these are just something that we've worked out with lenders, and really fills a niche in the investing community as well. People need that intermediate financing that banks don't offer for when you go from the initial money from financing, rehabbing it, to actually refinancing at the end. Holding it long term.
And your value is still the same. We're still not borrowing more than 75% of that loan value.
Correct.
So if something happened in the economy and the economy drops 20%, I mean, you're still up. Okay, I mean, that's not happened, but
knock on wood.
It's at the end of the day, we just want you to know you're still at a 75% loan to value ratio.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll never exceed that. That's our margin of safety and our comfort zone for ourselves, as well as our lenders too. So just like you said, if something happens, 10% hiccup, you're still okay. Absolutely. You still have a cushion. You still have a margin of safety. Again, we kind of touched on this. Where's the yield? I thought this was a funny name for a slide. I mean, people look around like, what are my alternatives? Where else can I put my money? If you have $100,000 in the bank, how much you making in your savings account? Probably, a couple cents every month or so. You can go buy a CD, sure. Right now, those are just over 1%. You can buy, government bonds. Those are right around 1% plus or minus. You can buy dividend stocks. You might get, 2, 3, 4, depending on the stock. But what we're talking about here is a 10% return, 10% in simple interest annual return on your money into real estate.
So if we kept this property for 6 months, 5, you invest $100,000, you get $5,000.
$5,000.
So that's a much stronger opportunity.
Correct. Yeah, there's different ways we can break it up, whether we're paying every month or we pay when we get the property, when we sell the property at the end. Instead of getting $100,000 back, you'd get $105,000 back. There's different ways we can be creative and work with our lenders to give them exactly what they want.
And like I said, we're looking for money anywhere from the 5 to 10% range. The 5 to 6%, that's going to be for the property that's already rented. No work needs to be done.
Correct.
It's already with the property management company. it's a cash flowing asset for our company. Then we have the fix and flip money. That's on the front side. That's going to be at the 10% range. But let's just say that this is something for you, or something that's not really for you, but your brother or
Sure.
your sister, someone that might really want to benefit from this. We want to throw out the opportunity that if you made a contact and you call Frank and say, my brother would be very interested in this, we want to reward you and thank you for that, because you're not only helping us, you're helping Dallas-Fort Worth. You're giving a
Correct.
family an opportunity to live in a beautifully designed house, and giving you an opportunity to earn a very attractive rate of return. And for that, we're going to give you a point on the loan amount of the next deal. So if you want to explain
Yeah,
that.
that's a great point. I think a lot of people hear points when they talk about mortgage origination. Hey, I need to pay a point. What the heck is a point? So a point is 1% of the loan. So really basic, $100,000 loan, 1 point is $1,000. If it was a $200,000 loan, point would be $2,000. So just 1% of the overall amount. That's a referral fee, just a thank you for introducing us to somebody, to make it a win-win situation, like you said, for your brother, mother, daughter, uncle, whoever it is that potentially might want a great rate of return, wants a hard asset to lend on, doesn't like the stock market. We get so many stock market refugees. People are tired of the ups and downs, tired of the swings. They don't trust the corporate executives. They want somebody they can call, they can talk to. They want to know where their money is.
Correct.
They like their money being in DFW. They know the economy here. They know the real estate values here. They see the real tangible asset and what the value that we bring.
Investors buy properties at a deep discount. I mean,
That's what we
us.
do.
That's
exactly what we do
every single day. And we need to borrow the money for the purchase and the rehab. So
I thought this was a
I
funny
know,
little
man.
cartoon. Brandon gives me a hard time for my little cartoons. I thought it was kind of funny here that TLC, no, tons of cash, truckload of cash. So a lot of properties, like Brandon was saying, they're $30,000 for repairs. So there's a significant amount of money that goes into them, and that's how we force the appreciation, how we really build value. It's not that we just slap on some paint and some carpet. No. We're having to redesign some walls, redesign living spaces, really bring these properties up to speed. Exactly. The plumbing issues, electrical issues. It's not doing a few things and just putting them back on. We actually fix the properties. We make them beautiful. We make them livable. We make them quality investments, quality properties that the people love to live on.
when I was growing up, I had some very strong mentors, and they always told me, Brandon, you want to be an LRP. That's what you want to be when you grow up. And never knew what an LRP was, but it's a lazy rich person. And I loved it. It's always stuck with me. And basically, an LRP is a bank.
Yep.
Because you lend money out and you just get it back plus interest.
Exactly.
And people make a very strong living doing that, and that's what I want to do when I grow up and stop being a kid. Is, instead of
stop swinging the hammer, get to the rehab.
Actually make it absolutely beautiful, because being an LRP, you're the bank. You get,
exactly.
You lend out money and you get interest, and that's, to me, that's what I want to be when I grow up, Frank.
100%. 100% agreed. I mean, as you see, the banks are some of the hugest institutions, wealthiest institutions. We've all heard of Goldman. You look at Morgan Stanley, these huge investment banks. They've made money lending.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they make some fees, but a lot of that money is borrowing cheaply and lending to another source, and doing that smartly over and over again, compounding those returns. That really builds generational wealth.
Absolutely.
I know you're big on generational wealth. You're big about building a legacy for your family. And that's really an incredible way to do it. It's also a passive way to do it, and one that we feel is mutually beneficial for not just our company and you, but also the general community. We're not just blowing this money. We're putting it back into the community, making these properties beautiful, putting out a great product for people. So I really feel good about that. I really love what we do. Brandon, I know you feel the same way.
I mean, Frank just hit it on the head. I mean, when you start to make money and you accumulate wealth, you have to protect it.
Exactly.
And I know that's what attorneys and CPAs are for, and they're very good. But you also have to constantly keep your money working for you. And
100%.
I hope today was educational, and we wanted to show you the pros, the cons, the
Exactly.
benefits, and where you can put your money so that it's always successfully working for you. And something that's I'm very passionate about is I don't have children yet. Frank does have a son, but we as future parents, we're the future of the world. And if what we do every day, people see. And it's not so much your words, it's your actions. And if you have kids and they see how smart you are in your investments and what you're doing to protect your money, your kids are going to learn and they're going to pick up on that. You know,
100%.
if you smoke, your kids might smoke. if you do certain things,
Yeah.
good or bad, your kids can pick up on that. And the world becomes a better place every single day when we teach our kids a legacy of transforming something. So when
Yeah.
you build that generational wealth, why does it stay in families? It's because
They pass it down.
They
The financial
pass it down.
education from one generation to the next, exactly like Brandon said. You know, they could see, oh, here's what mom does, here's what dad does. Gosh, okay, they save their money. They put their money back to work in investments and properties. They don't just go and buy a flashy car. Here's actually how to preserve my money,
Yeah.
to save it and to grow it. And that's what we like to do. That's what we like to encourage our investors, our lenders, our friends to do as well. Brandon's extremely passionate. For Christmas, we all got investment books. And
That's right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and we love him for it. So thank you so much for being with us today. I
Absolutely.
hope you learned a lot. We try to make this educational. We try to make it fun. A couple fun slides. We're very transparent. You can come visit us. You come check out the office, see where we sit, see what we do. Send an email to us, and all three of us will get to it. Please visit our website if you haven't already. You could watch more testimonials, more videos, see exactly what we do. SimpleHouseSolutions.com, another great video. That's, again, marketing for distressed sellers, people who want to sell their property. You can see more videos on us there.
And to finally close, I'm going to close you right now. Call Frank. Give him a call. If this is something you're not 100% interested in doing right now, I mean, just pick up the phone and call us. I mean, if you know someone that has some money, I mean, be a good friend to them and say, you know, hey, let's pick up the Tony Robbins book and let's
Yeah.
read it. Read some books about financial education. I mean, learn something that's gonna change your family's wealth. I promise you. I love cars more than anybody, but that BMW or that nice
No.
Ferrari, that's not going to change your family's life. This is a step in the right direction, and we are not the end-all be-all, but you know, I think we're very good at what we do. We love doing what we do every single day, and we'd love for you to be a part of our family.
Yep.
So,
We'd love to work with you. We'd love to
Absolutely.
talk to you. We'd love to see how we can work together. Again, everything has to be a win-win. That's a really focal point of our
Absolutely.
business. Brandon believes that. We all believe that, and in our core and our heart. So thank you again.
Thank you so very much for your time. Thank you.